Charlie said, no, it shouldn't exist because that's a newly created word or something.
Somalia is one of the most dysfunctional places on planet Earth. And yet Ilhan Omar, she wants to make America more like Somalia. She should be counting her blessings that she's here. She is a perfect embodiment of the ingratitude of now the third world, foreigner, left-wing insurgency within the United States Congress.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up.
I can think of something that is more effed up. What if you married your brother?
What I do know for sure is that, you know, Charlie was someone who once said, you know, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police. And you know, you have people like Nancy Mace who constantly harass, and, you know, you have people like Trump who has incited violence against people like me. And so, you know, these people are full of shit.
Ilhan Omar, after his assassination, called Charlie Kirk a reprehensible human being. Should she be stripped of her committee assignments?
I would say, I think she's a disgraceful person. You know, I think she's a disgraceful person, a loser. It's amazing the way people vote. I know it's people from her area, maybe of the world. I don't know. They got here and they vote her in. It's hard to believe, but I think she's a disgusting person.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows. House Resolution 713, censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and removing her from the Committee on Education and Workforce and the Committee on the Budget. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a lifelong advocate for freedom of speech, civil political discourse, and the political engagement of youth. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a man of deep faith, a husband, and a father to 2 young children. Whereas on September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was assassinated on the campus of Utah Valley University while exercising his First Amendment right to freedom of speech. Whereas on September 11th, 2025, one day after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Representative Ilhan Omar gave an interview on Zateo's town hall with Mehdi Hassan in which she smeared Charlie Kirk and implied he was to blame for his own murder. Whereas on September 12th, 2025, 2 days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Representative Ilhan Omar reposted a video on X, formerly known as Twitter, which disparaged the character of Charlie Kirk and those mourning his death. Whereas the video Representative Ilhan Omar reposted on X states Charlie Kirk is dead, and before the body got cold, the far right propped his corpse up as a cudgel for their holy war. Whereas the video Representative Ilhan Omar reposted on X further states, don't be fooled. These people don't give a single shit about Charlie Kirk. They are just using his death to further their Christo-fascist agenda. Whereas the video Representative Ilhan Omar reposted on X further states Charlie Kirk was a reprehensible human being. He enacted his political agenda by preying on weak-minded people. He took complex socioeconomic issues and simplified them by pointing fingers at outgroups, demonizing those groups, and sicking his massive following on them. Whereas the video Representative Ilhan Omar reposted on X further states Charlie Kirk was a stochastic terrorist, an adamant transphobe. He denied the genocide happening in Palestine. He believed the subjugation of women, and in his last dying words, he was spewing racist dog whistles. Whereas the video Representative Ilhan Omar reposted on X further states, Charlie Kirk was Dr. Frankenstein, and his monster shot him through the neck. Whereas the video Representative Ilhan Omar reposted on X further blames Charlie Kirk for his own murder. Whereas Clause 1 of Rule 13 of the Rules of the House of Representatives provides a member, delegate, resident commissioner, officer, or employee of the House shall behave at all times in a manner that shall reflect credibility on the House. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar's actions in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk are reprehensible and affect the dignity and integrity of the proceedings of the House and do not reflect the credibility on the House. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee on Education and Workforce and removed from the Committee on the Budget of the House.
Congressman, why did you bring a resolution to remove Democrat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, far-left Democrat, from her House committee assignments? She said Charlie Kirk's murder was, quote, mortifying, but you're saying she's trying to blame him for his own assassination. What's going on?
Well, she shared content the other day that essentially blamed Charlie Kirk for his own political assassination. She shared content that called him a terrorist. And I watched President Trump's comments yesterday calling her disgusting. And she's also been very dishonest about this. And, you can't repeat this sort of violent language in the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, where millions are mourning him. Millions are scared. I know many of us, like myself, have had threats on our families, our children, our employees, ourselves personally. And even President Trump said yesterday he would support her being kicked off her committee. So I filed just moments ago a privilege resolution that will force a vote this week to have her censured and kicked off her committees, and we'll see where people stand.
What I do know for sure is that, Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country by saying Juneteenth should never exist. And I think, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend that his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so. And you have people like Nancy Mace who constantly harass people that she finds inferior and wants them not to exist in this country or ever. And you have people like Trump who has incited violence against people like me. And so, these people are full of shit, and it's important for us to call them out while we feel anger and sadness and have empathy, which Charlie said no, it shouldn't exist because that's a newly created word or something. I'm someone who deals with lots of death threats and who's had multiple people incarcerated because they threatened to assassinate me. It is a constant thing that we think about, we worry about. But we also know that our families actually think a lot more about it and are constantly concerned. It was really mortifying to hear the news, to see the video. All I could think about was his wife, his children. That image is going to live forever. My husband has known the daughters of Malcolm, and they have talked to him about what being in person for their dad's execution meant to them, and
Malcolm X back in the 60s.
Malcolm X, yes. What that trauma has meant for them, and decades later they still carry that trauma, and so my heart does break for those babies.
I can think of something that is more effed up. What if you married your brother? That'd be weird and messed up, wouldn't it? Like marrying your brother, that's definitely fucked up. Why'd you do that? Your own home paper, Minneapolis Star-Tribune, couldn't conclude conclusively that you hadn't. That's kind of fucked up. Literally everything she just said was a lie. All of it was a lie. Or she was making points about Charlie that were totally valid. Juneteenth is a stupid thing to do. And like down the line, the things she was saying, this is what they do. They want to rewrite the history. They want to ignore the millions of clips of Charlie bringing people together. And they go with their bullshit lies like the New York Times tried to tell. Like Martin Luther King, he never did a bad thing. Charlie was so wrong to say he wasn't a good guy. Oh, maybe he didn't quite, as a Christian, support the way MLK was behind the scenes. Okay? This was a massive news story that was all over the papers a couple of years ago. Maybe you missed it. It's not good for me. It raises my blood pressure too high to be thinking about these people.
That's all for today. Thank you. If you want global news to keep you up to date on any new developments, please subscribe our channel and forward our content with your friends on social media and email. Thank you very much for keep supporting me. Stay safe. Be blessed. Namaste.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.